Sure, it may be his signature piece of legislation, but a shocking new report finds that President Obama held just one official meeting with Health and Human Services Secretary Kathleen Sebelius in the 3.5 years before the disastrous Obamacare rollout, where they were essentially one-on-one, although Tim Geithner was in the room.
And he had other meetings, but he apparently met with 16 other cabinet secretaries 277 times. So where are the president's priorities? Peter Schweizer from the Government Accountability Institute joins us now with more. His group conducted the survey and wrote a big op-ed today on this. So when the president says, I'm as mad as anybody about this, he also should say I'm responsible as many people because I never met with the person who's supposed to implement this program.
Yeah, I mean, as far as management is concerned or executive role here, it's a colossal failure because this is his signature piece of legislation, and you would expect that he would take an interest in how the implementation is going. But the records indicate, based on his schedule, Politico's schedule, and the White House visitors logs, they had no sort of intimate meetings, one-on-one or small group meetings concerning the Obamacare rollout.
And so that would make perfect sense when the president came out after the rollout, just snuck up the place, and he goes, nobody directly informed me. Well, that would be accurate because he never talked to the person in charge.
Yeah, and the real question, we can't get into the president's head, is why did he not have the meetings? I mean, one could simply be sort of reflection of the fact that he's kind of hands-off, he's detached, which has been a criticism of this president. The other possibility is more Machiavellian. Perhaps they weren't sure how the rollout was going to go, and this gives him some level, perhaps a plausible deniability, because now the Health and Human Services Secretary, Kathleen Sebelius, is basically taking the fall for this rollout.
And she should, because we have proof, and you go over in your column, that she knew how bad this was going. She knew about the struggles. And when the president came out and says, I don't think I'm stupid enough to go around saying this is going to be like shopping on Amazon or Travelocity a week before the website opens if I thought it wasn't going to work. Well, you're right. But she knew, and you never talked to her.
Yeah, and ignorance is not an excuse. I mean, that's the problem. If you were an executive, you need to know for sure, for darn sure, that the rollout is going to work and it's going to go well. And it's really incumbent upon a president to contact the people that are involved in his initiative. Presidents do that during war. They do that during times of peace, on domestic issues. There's just simply no excuse for him to be this detached on this important piece of legislation, which is reorienting a sixth of our entire national economy.
Au contraire, in your Politico op-ed today, we know exactly why the president doesn't need anybody else, and you quote Valerie Jarrett.
Yes, I mean, this is part of the problem. You have a president, and all presidents have a certain sense of their abilities, but they need to surround themselves with people who recognize their shortcomings or perhaps their weaknesses. The President Obama is, in a sense, very detached. He's not great at being hands-on in management. He's essentially admitted that. But people like Valerie Jarrett around him don't challenge that. They reinforce this notion that he's so brilliant that he's bored with these meetings and doesn't need to participate.
She says the problem is President Obama knows exactly how smart he is, and he's been bored to death his whole life. He's just too talented to do that, what ordinary people do. He would never be satisfied with what ordinary people do, because he's up there and we're down here.
That sounds like me.
It does.
Sounds exactly like me. It's
You're currently not president,
but
it's coming.
So, Peter, here's the big picture. The one thing I look at right now is the President of the United States either has to back up this plan, get behind the plan, or actually distance himself above it. I sense that he's going to try to stay a million feet above it and say they let me down on my signature legislation. It's not we let America down.
Yeah, I think you're right. And the spin is basically that the problem is not with the plan, it's with the implementation of the plan. That, I think, is sort of the calculation they made in the White House. The problem is the inherent nature of the plan is what led to the implementation. And you can't disconnect them.
And just the fact that he never met more than once with her, and Tim Geithner was right over there, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Peter, always a pleasure.
Great, thanks.
Thank you very much.
I'm surprised Politico ran with it.
Yes,
right?
yeah, no, they did a great headline, too.
Yes.
All right, 19 minutes now after the top of the hour.